great. I like your top.
Oh, thank you. It's getting a lot of compliments
It's giving
today.
rave.
Well, yeah, I was at the drum shows this weekend and I'm like still like, it's like a 2-day thing, so I'm not doing it. Anyways, we will start on the show.
Very jealous.
But on my hangover, I got to binge watch this show, which, I mean, what a pleasure. And you were amazing in it. It was so good. Julia's great. And I also feel like she's a little bit Selling Sunset inspired. Is there, like, she's glam. Is that, like, was that factored in?
Yeah, I think that definitely was factored in. It's really fun because I looked at, this is in working with the costume designer, Joe. I found all these kind of like TikToks of these like British, but kind of Selling Sunset type estate agents, these kind of like British young estate agents who were like going around these mansions and they were in these cute little outfits, and I was like, I think Julia would be like that kind of estate agent.
I feel
glad
like she'd be the TikTok, like, come at me to this 200k. Like,
oh my God, definitely.
She'd be all over it.
Yeah.
So she's obviously like the mean girl in this. Were there any other kind of fictional or real mean girls that kind of inspired your performance? I'm not like, give me the dirt on your childhood bully, but also...
There were a few different things. I think mainly I went to an all-girls school, which in the East End, so it was pretty tough going.
Yeah.
So I definitely drew on some experiences from that in terms of for Julia. And then also I really looked at kind of social media and these sort of women who had these kind of like perfect lives, but in a really kind of obsessive, kind of terrifying way. And where you sort of look and you feel kind of like bad about yourself.
Yeah.
And I felt like those women were kind of good inspiration for like Julia in terms of like what she's trying to kind of put fear in other people in terms of, because she's so got it together.
Yeah, and she's also kind of like trying to portray one thing when in reality everything's really different, which I do feel like we can all relate to on a certain level. Was that something intentional?
Yeah, definitely, because she has to be so perfect and kind of make other people feel bad, I think, because she's deflecting from obviously her own life, which isn't as amazing on the surface, under the surface. So yeah, I think that was my way into her as a character.
And who is your personal favourite, like, on-screen mean girl?
Oh my God. I mean, the classic is obviously Regina.
Yeah.
Regina.
Like, genuinely, I saw hints.
Maybe.
Yeah,
do you know what?
like
I didn't channel it, but I'm like, kind of.
Yeah.
It's giving Regina George.
And also how your friends are, like, slightly ditzy.
Yeah, bless Pidge. Such a good character. And they were amazing as well. The cast were, like, we had a lot of fun those days where we got to, you know, there's that moment where we were in the nightclub and they put on Who Do You Think You Are, Spice Girls, and I think that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there was no act dancing. It was just dancing.
We were enjoying. We went back in time.
Yeah. And I guess, like, building them relationships, like, you guys seemed, well, it came across as though there was a lot of trust, especially between you and Ella Purnell. How did you build that between the two of you guys, that dynamic?
Yeah, well, I think it just came from, like, we talked a lot about the characters, like, with the director, and obviously, like, Ella was so involved even before I came on, you know, she's kind of producing it as well. And I remember we had a lot of time in the room where we just really talked and got under the skin of like who those characters were. And I think ultimately they could have been friends back in the day. Like, if things had gone really differently, I think maybe they would have liked each other. Maybe Julia does her makeup and, you know, sort of Rhiannon would have given her something too and made her look at the world a bit differently. So I think that was kind of the basis of it, that, you know, we could really push those like moments because we knew, like, under the surface, like, wasn't really about the other person. It's kind of maybe about what society that surrounds it, which is why they've ended up in this kind of warped environment.
And, like, it gets pretty heated. I feel like I'm going to have to put, like, a spoiler on screen now. But, like, you guys get physical. I'm like, let's get into it now.
Yeah.
But, like, what was that like to film?
I mean, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
I think Ella's very up for that kind of stuff. You know, she's great at being, you know, super physical and doing stunts. That was kind of, I think, maybe my second time really, like, doing any kind of stunt work and, like, doing a fight scene. So it was good fun. Like, I think we were both really up for it. So it was like, it's kind of like a routine when you get
like
into it with stunt. Yeah, kind of. So that was maybe one of my favourite days on set.
Was there any like accidental like?
Fortunately not.
Okay, good.
Fortunately not. But you know, we both go for it. You can see sort of in the episode that we're like, you know, we're really like raring to go.
And I feel like the majority of the time when we see your character, you're kind of in this like pretty grim environment. Was it like equally as grim to film as it looked?
A little bit.
Not gonna lie. It was the pee bucket. I was
like a little bit. But do you know what? That is kind of what I wanted. Like I did say to Ella, like the director, that I wasn't getting up so much between takes or whatever. I just kind of would stay tied to the pole because I just kind of wanted to be in it and not keep breaking away from, like, I'm in a basement and I've been sat in the dark for hours. So I really wanted to like stay in that kind of headspace. And I think also it was helpful for then me and like Ella to kind of have that little bit of distance where she would come into sort of the basement and I would genuinely be like, oh God, I've been like sat here. So you could, you know, use that. So yeah, and I think again, that probably comes from the sort of trust in knowing you can kind of do that.
Yeah, just sit for a bit.
Yeah.
Amazing. I've been told to wrap up, but thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I had loads more fun questions, but it's so nice to